Welcome to Brain Info Live, for everyone in the brain health community. Brain Info Live is about hope, health, support, education, and you. Whether you're living with Alzheimer's or a caregiver, family member, or loved one of someone who is, Brain Info Live is here for everybody.
Wow, good morning, good morning. This is Brain Info Live, and my name is Barbara Chandler, and we are so excited to be back from the summer. This is our 11th session. This is the very first fall show, and yes, we are live. So, wow. As always, we bring you the best. This is going to be a very important show. I consider this show probably one of my top list of importance as it ranks. This is addressing driving and dementia. We're going to be navigating and you're going to be learning ways on which we can have the conversation with our loved ones when it comes to dementia. And I don't want to say taking away the keys, but let's say surrendering the car keys. So do we have a lot for you today? And of course, you know, we could not do Brain Info Live without our exercise guru, J. Lou out of Atlanta. And here at Brain Info Live, we love for you to know that your health and your safety is important. We always say each 5-minute chair exercise is for you. So we want you to do it at your own pace. So with no further ado, we welcome J. Lou, Fitness Guru.
Hey, I'm J. Lou, your fitness guru. I want to welcome everyone to Brain Info Live. Today, we're going to take it nice and smooth. Well, we're going to get those details because we got to get ready for the springtime and next summer. So in 5 seconds, get your dumbbells, water bottles, or anything around the house. So in 5 seconds, let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's go. Okay, now we're going to work on chest, shoulders, and back. Watching my motions at all times. Y'all ready? Elbows up, and let's go. Great job. Elbows in, and we're only doing 5 because I'm going to go through a lot of material. Elbows in, and and 5. Great. Now we're going to turn them underhand to your pockets and lift. 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 Big chest. Lift. Lift. Great job. Now we're going to drop it and we're going to go at an angle. You ready? Let's go. Okay, I see you out there. Press. Press. Press.
I think you want to do it.
Press. Great job. Now we're going to go more of an incline, not straight up yet. You ready? And let's go. There we go. Extend all the way out. Good. Now we're going to get on them shoulders and upper chest, elbows out, and let's go. And 5. Great job. Now we're going to cross a little bit. Set up, and I want you to cross and cross. Ready? Let's go. Great job. Now we're going to open up and cross. Elbows up, and let's go. Good details today. Great job. Now we're going to do like a halo over our head. Elbows out, and we're going to go over. Ready? And let's go. There we go. Come on. Great job. Now I'm going to tilt forward, but my chest is up. Don't have your back arch. Up, tilt forward, Open hand like you're hugging someone and squeeze to the back. There we go. 5. Great job. Now I'm going to lean back a little bit. Keep my back straight, chest up, and let's go. Squeeze here, squeeze here. Squeeze, squeeze. Squeeze, squeeze. Squeeze, squeeze. One more. Squeeze and squeeze. Great job. Now, I'm going to put one arm out. I'm going to tilt. Go get them lats and go back level. Ready? And let's go. There we go. 5. Stay with me now. If you need to take a break, take it and get back in. Here we go. Good. Straighten back up. Now I want these biceps. Elbows in front, and we're going to do a little short, little pulses. But we're going to do 10. Y'all ready? Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn your hammer style. Pulses. Ready? Y'all ready? You ready? Let's go. Great job. I call these reverse. Wrist and let's go. Great. Now we're going to add a little bit of waistline in there. You ready? And press, press. Ready? Go. Okay. Elbow up, hand down, and then we're going to drive to knee. Look how my elbow comes up. Level. Level. Ready? Level. 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 Come on. Level. Great job. Of the arm. Ready? And go. Level. And I'm grabbing those abs. Come on. Come on. 5. Okay. We almost finished. We're going to do both arms. Lean back. And legs come up as I drive. Elbows in. Ready? And let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 5 more. I need 5 more. 1. Let's go. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Woo! We worked on those details today. But in our next session, we're going to work on the entire body. That upper body, that core, those legs, plus cardio. I'm J. Lou, your fitness guru, and see you later. Bye.
Okay. That was J. Lou, the fitness guru. He attacked the details. I love the details. Very effective. 5 minutes. You can get a lot done in 5 minutes. So as always, we want to thank J. Lou, our fitness guru out of Atlanta. For those of you who are just joining us again, my name is Barbara Chandler, and I am in sunny Florida, and I do mean sunny, and we are live. This is the 11th episode, and we are discussing dementia and drive-in. We have a very special guest, but before that, we have a couple video clips. As always, it's movie time with Brain Info Live.
Martin has been diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. Earlier today, he drove into a parked school bus, slightly injuring the driver who was the only person aboard. The police issued a ticket, and he has a pending court appearance.
Well, I just filled Elaine in. I'll tell you, every conversation with her, minimum 20 minutes. Marty, it's okay. The driver was fine.
I still, I don't know what happened.
Marty.
I've never had an accident. I'm a very careful driver.
Always. You've always been great, Marty.
I'll be more careful next time. All right, no radio, just a complete focus.
Marty, this is serious. I know you didn't mean it, but you were lucky. very lucky. No one got hurt. This time, no one got hurt. Marty, please, you're a caring and loving man. Your driving has always been great. But things are different now. Things are changing. It's the Alzheimer's. It's begun to impair your judgment. Oh, please, Marty. Can't we just honor your years of careful driving? Marty, it was a school bus. Can you imagine? We couldn't live with ourselves if kids got hurt. It's a sign, Marty. It's a lucky sign.
I've been driving since I was 14. My dad had died, and my mom applied for a special permit. I was driving before I started high school. 14 years old. 14.
Marty, please.
Sure, there are a lot of parking tickets, but accidents? Never. Never had any accidents. You're a liar, that's what you are.
Marty, take it easy. I'm here for you. All the way, every step of the way. I am so sorry, but you have to give me your keys. There's no other option now. It is the right thing to do.
No, you're a liar. You don't care about me. You just want to control me. I am a good driver.
Frank was diagnosed last year with Alzheimer's. His doctor has insisted that he stop driving immediately due to his diminished and deteriorating cognitive judgment. Frank's wife, Betty, agrees with the doctor. However, Betty has never driven and is an unlikely candidate for learning. She has relied on Frank for all of their transportation needs, but she knows she must confront him.
I think I'll head on over to Jim's before it gets too late.
Oh, honey, wait a moment, please. This is from Dr. Robinson. Do you remember from yesterday?
No, I do not.
Would you read it, please?
There's nothing wrong with my driving.
You almost hit a man yesterday. He was on his bicycle, don't you remember?
There's no such thing as a prescription to stop driving.
This is from Dr. Robinson, just to remind you, when we met with him yesterday. We met yesterday morning. Honey.
I know, Okay. I sometimes forget where you get your hair done. On Fridays, where you get it done on Fridays, but that has nothing to do with my driving.
You always told me to be honest with you. When this thing first started, you said no matter how difficult, I needed to be direct. You almost hit a man yesterday. He was riding on his bicycle. Do you know we could never live with ourselves if we hurt someone?
We?
This is us. We're a team. This is us, we. Frank, you've been driving for almost 60 years, and you're a great driver. But things change. We're older now.
You could drive us.
Not with my eyes. I couldn't get a license.
The cinnamon rolls. The coffee and the cinnamon rolls at the mall. Who's going to drive us there in the morning? That's our group.
Frank, I've been thinking about this. Ted and Joan always say they want to help.
He's a terrible driver.
Well, we could start a carpool and we'd buy the cinnamon rolls and the coffee. Huh? Just the coffee. Oh, what does it matter? What difference is it, Frank?
What about your hair? They're not going to take you to the salon, too.
It's so close. I could get a taxi. Remember when we first made a decision to downsize to this place? One of the reasons we moved here was because it was so close to everything. That was part of the plan. Honey, please.
What kind of a man am I if I can't even drive you to get your hair done or to the mall? That's not a life. That's nothing.
Frank,
It's nothing.
a real man understands change and tries to act in a responsible way. You're a real man, Frank. I don't need a chauffeur. I didn't marry a chauffeur. I don't need you to drive me, to drive us. Nothing matters, Frank. Except you. Nothing. You're all that matters to me. I love you, Frank.
Okay. We're back to very moving videos. Once again, we are speaking about driving and dementia, and who better than to help us to navigate this conversation. We have joining us, it is Ganesh Babula, and I'm really hoping I did okay on that. And just a bit about him. Ganesh is an assistant professor in the Department of Neurology and a director of the Drives Project at Washington University in St. Louis. He is also the adjunct associate professor at the George Washington University in DC, and a research associate in the Department of Psychology at the University of Johannesburg, South Africa. All right, so he is going to be going through quite a bit with us today to give us some understanding of what we just saw. So good afternoon, Ganesh. How are you?
Good morning, Barbara. It's still morning here in very sunny St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh,
It's my absolute pleasure to join you this morning for the 11th episode in the third season. It's, of course, an area of research, but more importantly, an important area of my work that I think, has overarching implications for our aging population. So thank you so much for inviting me to join today.
excellent. So, in reading, and I just touched on your bio for those out there, for our viewers, I just kind of touched on your bio, but we want to hear from you. Tell us a bit more of what you do around the Drives Project and just who you are.
I'm happy to. So I've been conducting research in this area for over a decade now, and my research actually occupies four very broad areas. So we primarily study the impact of preclinical Alzheimer's disease on driving performance and driving behavior in older adults. And we also examine the relationship between depression and dementia on driving outcomes. Another area of my research is I work to understand how social determinants of health impacts aging and the risk for Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. And I also research how dementia impacts those that are residing in lower and middle income countries, particularly those that are residing in conflict settings and living in high areas of poverty. But what I'm here to talk to you about today is the first area of my research, which is Alzheimer's disease and driving. And I mentioned preclinical Alzheimer's disease, and what I want to give a little bit of context to is we've known that there is a long preclinical stage where a person can remain cognitively normal, but the pathophysiological process of the disease has already started. Now, we can measure this process by looking at protein levels in the body through imaging, through a lumbar puncture, and more recently through blood. And the goal for our laboratory really is to identify those that are at a high risk of driving decline, and also to predict when driving decline will occur so that we can intervene and maintain to try to help to maintain their driving skills. really our end goal is to make sure that our older drivers are on the road as safely as possible and that they can continue to enjoy driving as long as they'd like, and to also be able to age in place.
Wow, 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 wow. That's some in-depth work. So we do have a few questions, and we'll probably get some questions as well coming in. And I want to go back to the two scripts that we seen, the two video clips, pardon me, that we saw earlier. One of the things I quickly picked up, the roles of the men, and how when it was time to, I'm going to say surrender, when it's time to surrender the keys, both in both clips, we saw where they aligned being a male, the one gentleman being a male, being able to drive his wife, his role as a male. Can we touch on that a bit?
I'm happy to. Both of those clips, I really think, highlight the importance, number one, of driving to the individual's identity. It's really a core
Mm,
part of who they are, not just being male, but driving is central to being an American. It's functional independence, it gives you autonomy, the ability to go out to gain access to so many different opportunities across the contiguous United States. And having to relinquish driving or giving up the keys is really one of those, probably one of the most difficult decisions an older adult has to make in their lifetime, and it
right.
particularly impacts men more than women, primarily because they're usually seen as the breadwinner, and then it is their role to sort of provide and to support not only a spouse or a partner, but more importantly their community. And what we do know from the literature actually is that men are typically um, uh, 3 to 5 years later to give up the keys compared to women. Women tend
Mm,
to recognize when their skills are declining, and they are usually much more faster to relinquish driving compared to men. So those two clips that you saw really play out on a daily basis across clinics and homes and communities here in the United States.
I got you. I got you. Wow. Thank you for that. Also, there's a question here. We know that driving, and you stated this, equals independence for a lot of us. How does race or culture also affect how different populations see driving?
So that's a fantastic question. And we do see that there are some differences across race. And so, as you indicated, I touched upon some differences between gender. What we do know from the literature is that African Americans and Hispanic older adults tend to retire much earlier from driving compared to their white counterparts. And we also know that their driving space, or at least the physical geographic boundaries of where they go, tends to be a little bit smaller. And again, that space tends to restrict or get smaller over time. And it could be to a number of reasons. It could be due to having a support network closer to them, which allows them to still remain active in their community, but not needing to drive as much. They could also be relocating or moving to communities where they don't have to drive as much because the places that they need to get to are closer so they can walk, or they can have the support of family member and friends to take them to where they need to get to. And so we're still trying to figure out a little bit more as to why this trend persists. But on the converse, we do know that those that reside in areas that are more rural and even suburban, they actually have to drive a lot farther, just based on the
Mm,
geographic distances to going to the doctor's office, going to the pharmacy or the grocery store, or going to the
yeah.
community theater or to the bingo hall, or all of these community activity places are a little bit farther from their home, and so driving is that key, so to speak, and that means of getting from their home to where they need to go in the community.
Right, right. And a quality of life. just having that quality of life. I think about 15, 16, when we're starting to be introduced to driving and what that does to us. And then you have this other end here where it's time to relinquish your keys, and also how that impacts us as well as the other people around you. So, all right, let's see what else we have here. Um, Here's a good one. Is there anything you can do if your loved one is stubborn about giving up driving?
So that's a fantastic question, and one that unfortunately tends to also be very prevalent. And so I think about the word stubbornness, as you put it. And when we
Mhm.
think about stubbornness, really what we're asking them to do is give up their independence and their identity.
Right,
Very similar to what
right.
you saw in both of those videos, but primarily more in the first video, where he
Mhm.
was saying that, you're lying to me, you're not being truthful in terms of my ability. I've been driving since I was 14. And so I have an example for you, and this is from a research study that we did. We asked two questions to the participants that were in the study, and it was almost about 400 subjects that were in there. And so one question we asked is, what age do you think you expect to live to? And then what age do you expect to stop driving? And we asked them two separate questions that were spaced apart. So there were other questions in between them. And what we found was that 76% of the sample expected to drive 1 year after they predicted that they would, die.
Wow.
14% of the sample predicted that they would drive 12 years after they died.
Wow.
And what I want to stress was that they expected to obviously drive well beyond after they died, but it wasn't an issue of incorrect mathematics. But what it stressed for us was the importance that these individuals placed on the independence. So I've
Cool.
seen a few cases where families have hit up the keys, they've taken the engine and the transmission out of a vehicle, and they've even sold the vehicle without even telling their family member that they've had cause and concern for. But I think it truly starts with a conversation. There's quite a few things that you can do. You can ask them those two questions that I referred to earlier, and really it gets an idea of how much they gauge and they value driving. You can also talk to them about what limitations are they having in their own daily lives that might be impacting their driving performance and their behavior. If alternative transportation, for example, are needed, you can first ask them, let's try out a few of them before making a decision. But if all of
Cool.
those sort of fail, one strategy that seems to work is you ask them, how would you feel if you had either your grandchild or a great nephew or great niece in the back seat and you had to take them someplace? Do you think you're safe enough to drive them from point A to point B? And that usually helps to put things in perspective. It sort of tugs at the heartstring, right? And I hate,
Correct.
to go there, but it often is truly an important place to put them into perspective of where they need to understand that if their skills are declining and you're seeing those
Mm.
skills decline, for them to pay attention to.
Wow. Wow. That's very interesting, especially the research that you did. And I say that because a lot of us, including myself, we see ourselves kind of maintaining throughout our 70s and our 80s. So we're not really thinking of worst case scenarios, especially when it comes to something like driving, especially when there are no present, what do you call them, present symptoms. We continue to think that this is the life that we will be able to carry out. So yeah, but bringing in grandchildren and other people, it almost goes back to we place more value on others than we do ourselves. So I think that's a very good way in bringing someone on board. Excellent. Okay, let's see here. What are some behavioral or physical signs of unsafe driving to look for when you suspect dementia? Is that one clear? Was I clear?
That is a very clear
Okay.
question, and it's a great question. So I'll give you the quick answer to that, and then something a little bit more nuanced. So the biggest red flags for us that we see, and the literature tells us this, physicians will tell you this also, is that any near miss crashes are the biggest red
Mm,
flags, or a stop sign or a stop light, if I had to use more driving based analogies, because what it tells us is that there is starting to be significant decline in those skills or the capacity to be able to drive. And so this very well could be driving, pulling a rolling stop at a stop sign and missing a biker or a pedestrian, or driving and not paying attention to the what's in front of you if you're looking off to the side. So all of those are important risk factors. But just like in the videos, what we've noticed in our research study, and I mentioned that we focus in this preclinical stage of the disease before a person becomes symptomatic, we
correct.
start to see a lot of self-regulation occur, Barbara. And when I say self-regulation, we start to see really an overall decline in their ability or how often they're going out. And the way that we
Mm,
do this, if briefly, is we have a little data logger that we plug into our participants' vehicle, and it collects data every single time they turn the key. And so we know, how often they're driving, how many miles, how many minutes a day, whether that's during the daytime versus the nighttime, if it's in the spring versus the winter. And so we have a lot of these contextual factors to understand what might be influencing them. And what we've discovered is that as a person progresses and they start to convert to symptomatic dementia or Alzheimer's disease, they tend to restrict their trips. They don't go out as
mm,
often in the nighttime. They don't typically go out in rush hour or traffic. Or what they'll do is they'll string trips along. So instead of taking a few sporadic trips, like from home to the grocery store, or home to the doctor's office, or home to the community pool, you'll plan those ahead of time, going from point A to B to C. And part of that is to conserve a lot of the energy and the resources to learn to drive, but also to ensure you're reducing the extra risk from having other drivers in the road, or reduced light, or being in inclement conditions like snow or rain. Those tend to increase a crash risk. So those are what we're starting to see in the preclinical stage of the disease.
okay. Okay. Wow, that's a lot. I want to check in with Alexa to see if there are any questions. Alexa, any questions that we may have from viewers at this point? Okay. This is really good. Um, okay, very well. Um, any other modes of transportation that you would recommend that people use for their loved ones? I know in my area there's those shared rides. Of course, we have Uber and Lyft, but then also I guess sometimes it's a matter of trust. We definitely want to put our families in safe situations. But can you tell us any other mode of transportation that you would recommend for loved ones people caring for families with dementia?
That's another good question, Barbara. So we actually did a study a few years ago in a sample of 700 older adults to see if ride-sharing programs were actually something that they wanted to use. And what we found is out of that 700, only 2% of the sample had ever used e-hail or ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft. And about three-fourths or 75% of the sample had no knowledge of it. But what I think is newer technology, in that they require you to have a smart device, either a phone or a tablet, or on a computer, and it's becoming easier to use and access. So if you have a parent or a loved one, you can schedule that trip for them, despite not having to be physically in the same state, even. Um, but it really boils down to personal preference, I think, because, as you mentioned, trust is an important part of it. Getting in a stranger's car who you may not know, it takes a lot, and especially if you had to give up the keys, not wanting to do it. So what I would say is ride sharing, taxis, or even public transportation are all potential
Correct.
options. But what we do see is that older adults that tend to have to retire from driving really prefer to ride with family members and their friends, those that they feel comfortable and safer with. And I think that could be a very good first step before transitioning into other options like rideshare, or like GoGo Grandparent.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Ganesh, if there is one thing you would like us to take away, hang on. Would you recommend? I got a question. Question came in. Would you recommend long distance caregivers practice ride sharing with their loved ones?
That's a great question, and I definitely would
Mhm.
recommend practice, primarily because a lot of those applications or the apps on smartphones or smart devices can be challenging to use if
Okay.
you're not inputting the directions correctly, and it is a learned skill. And so I would certainly recommend that if you are a long distance caregiver, that you spend the time with your loved one, either recording a video or coaching them through step by step with pictures and
Ooh,
text on how to use one of those devices, and also to be available if there's any questions, because a simple mistake, from going from, let's say, the home to the library, can take you from the home to another state if they're not inputting the
that's right.
direction correctly.
Yes, yes, very important, very important. Wow. One, anything, if throughout this entire conversation, it's just been so rich, very empowering. What's one thing or anything that we should definitely take with us? What's the charge for us?
I'll give you two things. I
Okay.
think it's very complicated to figure out when is the right time to take away the keys, because there's so many other factors that play into it: medical conditions, medications, how the person's feeling, and so a communication with the family and the friends and the loved one is really critical, and it's important to ensure you're hearing them out, before there starts to be discussion about retiring from driving. And I think before those discussions start, having potential solutions is also very helpful and important, beforehand, so that you're just not thrusting this upon them and saying, we're going to take your keys, figure out how to live where you are and to get around. The other counterpart to that, I'd like to say, is really a safe driver is one who's able to maintain constant but shifting attention to the road environment. They also have to operate a
Mm,
vehicle, adjust the speed, lane positioning, direction, while also paying attention to the rules of the road, whether that's a highway or a local road, looking at regulation signs, situational right of ways, and other drivers, in addition to the speed
correct.
limit. But they also have to be mindful and aware of where they're going and how to arrive there. All of this is done simultaneously at a subconscious
Right.
level. And you also have to do this in different weather conditions, road demands like construction, distractions that might be occurring, all while you might be sleep deprived, stressed, hungry, or
That's
experiencing
right.
pain. And so a lot of different factors truly impact just driving on a day to day basis. So talk with your loved ones first. Bring in a healthcare provider, an occupational therapist, and also feel free to reach out to researchers like me and others across the country if you have questions, because we have the experience with this very important, but also very sensitive topic.
I feel the same way. It's important. It's sensitive. It's very personal, and still at the same time, it's still very so community because it impacts so many people. whether you are the one who have to surrender or just another driver on the road. So I got to say, this is great information all around. It's applicable in a lot of cases, with or without someone living with dementia. And we just want to thank you for doing this important work. Anything else that you'd like to leave us with at this point?
No, thank you so much for the invitation, Barbara, and Brain Info Live. I love this series of talks, and it's been an absolute pleasure joining you here this morning.
Absolutely. Same for us. Same for us. All the best to you. And we continue to look out for more of your research and how we can share it with our community.
My pleasure.
All right. Take care. All right, everyone. That was Ganesh Babulal. And that was just incredible information that you heard here about driving with dementia. When is the right time? How do we approach this conversation with our loved ones? How do we make them a part of the decision making when it's time to relinquish their keys? The type of technology that is being researched right now to help us with this, not just help us, but help the person itself. So right now, what do we have? We have a quick poll for you. At every session, in every segment of Brain Info Live, I always say we like to I don't want to say test, but we like to know that we have retained some of the information that has been shared with us. So this quick poll will help us in doing so. So the poll says, should you take away the car keys of a loved one with dementia? Should you take away the car keys of a loved one with dementia? A says yes, as soon as dementia gets diagnosed. B, only as a last resort after you have had conversations, but the person is refusing to give up risky driving. And C says no, you should wait for the DMV to revoke their license. Okay. All righty. We have the answer. All right. The answer is B, only as a last resort. You've had the conversations and the person is refusing to give up the keys and is having risky driving. Okay. B is the answer, only as a last resort. And we're hoping that with the information that we are providing with you, we're giving you the tools, we're giving you the knowledge on how to navigate it so it doesn't feel like it's a last resort. It feels like it's a shared conversation, it's a shared decision-making process. Okay? All right. This is really good, really good, really good. We do have some resources, some local resources and some national resources that we would always leave you with. Please, 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 if you need to, if you have not signed up with Brain Info Live, it is bit.ly. There it is right there. Thank you, Alexa, /BIL sign up. Okay, this is where you can sign up and receive information. I feel that this driving information is information we need to have on hand. It may not apply directly to us. Maybe we do not have a family member, but we know community members who are experiencing symptoms. And one of the words that we have always heard in every segment of Brain Info Live, including today, is how to be proactive. How to be proactive. So having this information is also another way in which to be proactive. I guess we should thank everyone who continues to join us. John Lewis, aka J. Lou, our fitness guru. You heard from Ganesh Babulal, who provided us with information today on driving. Those amazing video clips. I think we all can understand where those individuals were coming from. And we just want to thank you, our viewers, for always tuning in. We want to thank the Brain Info team, Brain Info Live team, Brain Info Life team for always putting together great programming, informative community programming in which we can kind of navigate this very serious conversation. And Alexa, do you want to put the resources back up? Okay, here we are. Driving and Dementia Resources. We have the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center. Really good. Dementia Caregiving and Transportation. Of course, the Alzheimer's Association, Dementia and Driving. And then there's the Alzheimer's Los Angeles Caregiver Tip Sheet on Driving. And the Florida resource, Find a Ride Florida. Okay. Again, feel free to sign up. In this way, you can have information coming in directly to you. I want to thank you all so much once again for joining us for our 11th show, but this is the first one for the fall. My name is Barbara Chandler, and have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.